Hey everybody, Ben here from DMC Films and Cinema Black Studios, and welcome back to another acrylic painting tutorial. Now, when a lot of people paint mountains in acrylic, they will use a knife, and they tell other people to use a knife because the knife does the work for you. Well, that's actually the biggest reason why I can tell people don't use a knife. And let me show you why. So as you can see down here in front of me, I've got this tower rock structure and some sort of rock, cliff, mountain things going on here. And over here, I've got a little knifed out area of sort of generic mountains. And I'm going to show you the difference in just what you can do with a knife versus what you can do with a brush when making your mountains. So my colors with the knife example aren't going to be super accurate. I'm just going to go for mid-tone, light and dark, just so you can see a basic idea of what I'm talking about. So for my shadow layer, I'm going to use sort of a blue, which is I think what a lot of people tend to use for mountains such as this. So I'm going to take blue and mix it with my gray. And then someone will tell you go in. Let's just keep with where my piece is. My light source is over here, so I'll keep my shadows on the left side. I actually haven't done this in a while, for good reason really. We're just going to throw a couple little shadowy areas right in there. Okay. Now we'll make a light, and for that I'm just going to grab my funny gray and a little bit of white, just as a generic color palette. Sort of a light gray going on there. And we're going to come down and just kind of let the paint break a little bit with each stroke of the mountain. Right about like that. Now add a little bit more white. Do what a lot of people would think as a snow-covered mountain. Just kind of bring them down. Like so. And while for beginners this technique does work, and you can do it for a decent period of time, you tend to lose a little bit of control with the knife. You get the breaks and you get these little variations, but it looks a little bit lazy. So let's go to our mountains now that we're going to be using a brush. Now for this example I'm just going to be showing you my highlight layer, mainly so it A, shows up on camera really well, and B, because I have 2 other mountain tutorials on the channel already. You're welcome to check those out. So the brush I've grabbed is a regular flat brush, and this one has space across to about 1 centimeter or so. And I'm going to grab my gray, which is the color that's on here now. It's this dry version of this gray. And I'm going to pull a little bit of my white into that. I'm going to grab a little bit of this funny purple color that I've been using for the sky. This is going to be about a first highlight layer for me. I'll probably do 2 to 3 highlight layers in here. This is just the first color range. So my light source is coming from the right side. And we're going to come down here, just with the corner of the brush. And where the brush kind of runs out of paint and drags, you're going to get a little bit of texture from the canvas itself. And you're just going to let that happen too. I'm going to get a solid edge on the highlighted side. Everything else kind of just fades out to the edge, into the darkness. And with each brush stroke, you get little bumps, little formations in the rocks. You can decide more for yourself where those bumps are going to be, where those variations are going to be. If you're using a knife, you just kind of have to let the knife do whatever it wants. But you have so much more creative control in this instance. So I'm going to wipe a little bit of that paint off the brush now, and just get sort of a dry brush. Barely any paint on there at all. And we're just going to kind of come in and pull very lightly to give it sort of a dry brush gradient coming from our light to our dark. Making that transition just a little bit more subtle. Right about like that. Perhaps you have a flatter spot. You can really decide where you want a smaller section. Maybe I'm going to have another piece of a rock sticking out right here. You can do that. And always just paint back over with your medium gray and just start over again if you mess up. You have a harder time doing that if your paint's thick and you're laying that on with a knife. Every time my plan sort of pivots or changes, that's sort of another little rock structure that I'm working on. Come across with that one, and this one pivoted. Come across here, pull this down, that over. And right about like that, I've got my first layer of highlights. Well, that's about it for this tutorial. For more on this technique, be sure to check out Mountains tutorial number 2. That video will be in the video post screen after I'm done talking here, as well as the description box below. Be sure to subscribe for more videos, and as always, see you guys next time.